Streaming all across the country, from Washington State to South Beach and the Northeast to the deserts of Arizona, to dive into all things football. You're listening to the B&E Podcast. Here's your hosts, Ed Donaldson and Brandon Simpson.
Welcome to another episode of the Breaking and Entering Podcast. We got a special guest today. Got my fan with us, my cousin Jason Jones. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm good, man. Appreciate it. How y'all doing?
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your
doing
team
good,
and stuff like that?
My team?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm, from, the DMV, the Virginia, so my team is automatically Washington Redskins football team, Commanders, however you want to call it. And so it hurts, but I stand by my team, and I'm not, just a person that is roots. Like I follow them. Like throughout this whole off season, I'm gonna be checking Twitter boys and stuff. I'm trying to find out stuff before people find out.
I got you. Brandon, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I didn't get to see any of the Pro Bowl festivities Thursday night. I don't know if you did, but I saw like stuff on Twitter about the Ravens and stuff. So
I saw Derek Carr. He won some competition, and Ryan Clark was like, "Damn, this is like the hottest you've been since you. Or have you ever felt this hot since you been the Raiders?" He was like, "No, I guess that's why they let me go." He looked like he was about to cry for a second.
Yeah,
like, well, that's partly your fault, man. You played like some shit a lot of those times, but.
I saw the interview, but I had it on mute, so like I was just like scrolling down or whatever, and it just popped up.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I guess that's why they let me go." He made this little face. It was like, I was like, "This dude."
And it's funny because it's down there in Vegas too. All that stuff this weekend.
Yeah,
so he right there in his own stadium.
That's true. They need to get back to doing those like old school skills competitions, like the 40-yard dash and stuff like that.
Yeah, the strongest man and all that too. I think they used to do.
Yeah, because I
can
heard
do
this year.
225.
Yeah, excuse me. I heard this year the ratings are up a little bit compared to last year, but I think they get like the like the longest throw. I was watching they showed some old clips. They had like Cordell Stewart, Brett Favre, and who was a Harbaugh throwing the ball the longest or the furthest. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD health and wellness company. Check out their line of CBD-infused products, which are a perfect after-workout refuel for athletes, a pain reliever for weekend warriors, and even a natural sports drink for us armchair quarterbacks. Their featured product is CBD-infused honey, right here, which is a personal favorite of mine, as well as tinctures and mint and natural flavors. They are veteran, woman, and minority-owned, so come get some of the sweet temptation and taste the premium difference. Use code BNE for 15% off your order. Their website is premium.com. That's PREHEMIUM.com. Again, that's PREHEMIUM.com. And now back to our show.
All right, turning our attention to the opening drive, everyone. A lot of coaching hires this past week. Texans, they picked up D'Amico Ryans as their new head coach. That'll be his first head coaching job. Panthers, they hired former Colts head coach in Frank Reich. Broncos and the Saints, they agreed to a blockbuster trade that makes Sean Payton their head coach. Saints, they'll receive a 2023 first-round pick that's coming up in April, as well as a second-round pick next year. Denver will also receive a third-round pick as well. The Los Angeles Rams, they have a new offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, is coming over from the New York Jets after they let him go. Vic Fangio is now the defensive coordinator with the Miami Dolphins, and the Patriots bring back Billy O'Brien as their offensive coordinator. He's, of course, spent time as Houston's head coach about 3 years ago, as well as some time with Alabama. So he's quite familiar with Mac Jones, mac and cheese, as I call him. So my question to you guys is, what are your thoughts on these hires? Any of these hirings you think that's going to these organizations knocked it out the park, or any of them you don't like? Jason, your thoughts?
Uh, Texans hiring is a bit interesting. I know a lot of their ownership has been under fire with a lot of stuff they've done over the years, but then now this is the third straight year they hired a black coach. So that looks good in a way, but my thing is, are they going to give him, that time? Are they going to allow him to actually build? Because, being that he's a defensive, coach, he doesn't have a quarterback. So are they going to allow him to get his, the quarterback and allow that to build and develop? Or are we going to see a situation like in Arizona where it's like we got this hot shot young college coach, offensive guru, and so we're going to just, get rid of him and bring him in and hope for the best. And I'm hoping that's not the case because we already know we typically don't get the longevity to actually build an organization. We usually get put in the worst spots. This is not a sexy place to be, Houston, because they have they don't really have anything. So now we gonna get if he gonna get the opportunity to really build from the ground up and ownership stick with him. So I hope so that he can do it, but we'll see. History says no, but history always changes too. So yeah, that was very interesting. I thought he would have held out for maybe a better opportunity, but sometimes you got to take what's there and hope for the best.
I agree with that D'Amico Ryans thing. That hopefully they give him time, but as far as he goes, just like Lovie Smith and David Culley, last 2 years, if he don't make it I think he signed a 6-year contract, he'll still get his coin. So, what I'm saying, unfortunately, it would be a bad situation if it doesn't work out or they don't give him time, but he still get his money. So, I mean, at the end of the day, he got to look out for himself. So that definitely helped at the fact that he got a 6-year contract, because most of the coaches usually get about a 4 to 5 year contract in my experience. I mean, John Gruden get a 10-year a couple of years ago, but I think the Raiders like to waste money anyway. But as far as the Patriots, I think that's a good hire for their offensive coordinator, bringing back Bill O'Brien. He's had time with Mac Jones in college. He's spent time in New England, so he's used to Bill Belichick and how he does things there. But they definitely need a wide receiver out there for sure. It won't matter if they don't get wide receiver talent out there, because a couple of years ago when they brought in Cam Newton, they brought in like 2 tight ends because Cam is a running quarterback. So they was thinking, okay, let's block. A lot of those running quarterbacks tend to throw to the tight ends a little bit more. So now they need to get Mac Jones some wide receiver help, or it's not going to help. I don't know about the Sean Payton thing going out there to Denver. I think the thing that was different for him when he went to New Orleans was Drew Brees was probably 25, 26, I want to say, around that time when he came over from the Los Angeles was it San Diego Chargers at that time. So he had himself a young quarterback to build after. And I like Russell Wilson and all. Obviously, last year was a little bit of a struggle, but Russell Wilson isn't no spring chicken. You know what I'm saying? He's getting older. So we'll see how good both of these guys really are this year, if not next year, the second year working together for sure. But I wish them the best. And I was really surprised by that Vic Fangio going to Miami, because there was some rumors of him going to the Broncos as well with Sean Payton, because they said they wanted to get this whole all-star coaching staff out there with Sean Payton. But we'll see how that goes down there in Miami, because what's crazy is that they kind of made it seem like, was it Mike McDaniel down there in Miami? He fired the defense coordinator this year because he didn't make the move last year. He kept them. He was one of the coaches retained from the Brian Flores team coaching staff. So we'll see how that goes as far as defense. And their defense wasn't bad. That's kind of surprising that they let go of the defense coordinator and he brought in this guy. So we'll see how that goes. Ed, what are your thoughts on the coordinator and coaching changes this past week?
I was a little surprised that the Panthers went with Frank Reich instead of Steve Wilkes, but I was hearing that the second interview, I guess, really separated the two. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out with the Panthers. Hopefully, Sean Payton can get Russell Wilson back on track, because this season, boy, Russell Wilson, he went through it. Media was giving him crap. His former players or teammates was giving him crap. He was playing like crap. Broncos country, let's ride. We'll see. I don't know. I am kind of surprised with the D'Amico Ryans hire. Like you guys were saying, these last 2 years, the coaches that they got were one and done. So I'm interested to see how long they'll let him ride, because like you were saying, Jason, they don't really got too much on that roster. I'm thinking of guys that they can build around. I like Damian Pierce at running back. I forgot the cornerback they drafted this year. He was playing really well from what I remember. So we'll see if they can build off those pieces, but they're definitely going to need a quarterback. And we'll see how D'Amico Ryans does with those guys at head coach. And then the LA Rams, I can't remember having weren't LaFleur and Sean McVay on the Washington coaching staff back in the day?
I believe so.
I want to say
No, that was his brother that's in Green Bay.
Okay.
Got you. Okay. I was gonna say, I wonder if that was gonna be a reconnect, but it sounds like it's just gonna be something new. So LA Rams, they got they got Cooper Kupp. Quarterback situation is gonna be a little difficult because that injury that Stafford was dealing with, the neck and stuff, they're saying that could be like career threatening. So we'll see if they'll go on. What you call him, Brandon? Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
If he'll be a future QB, we'll see. But yeah, good luck to D'Amico Ryans, man. I think the Texans do what they did with Lovie Smith and David Culley. They're gonna receive a lot of flack about how they keep firing guys after 1 year, especially black guys. So we'll see how that goes on. But I want to get into. Go ahead.
I want to jump back in real quick about the Peyton and Frank Reich situation. I think with the Sean Payton situation, the Broncos, in my opinion, try to save face, because Russ got them for what I know it was 250 mil, but the guarantee was like 130 something. So that's money that they're going to have to pay this guy regardless. And it's like, you had to bring in, a reputable coach to show, that, we're really trying to go after it here, because Russ, I think Pete Carroll knew this was going to happen and fleece the Broncos badly. And it was like, all right, here you go. And because how do you go from that to that quickly? And I think the system Seattle was in Russ's favor, but they saw the decline. They say, hey, take this. Now you got all this money tied up for years. It's like, okay, we got to get Sean Payton. And the thing about that system though is, what I remember from New Orleans, that not only was the Drew Brees a factor, but there were receivers that were made in that system that you never even heard of, until they got there. So I remember I can't remember all their names, but I remember it was like Devery Henderson, like he was like a beast, and then I think he went to Washington, and then yeah. So, but so they got great receivers, good receivers out there in Denver. So that could be a situation where not only does Russ benefit, hopefully, but hopefully the talented receivers that got benefit as well. But I think Russ is playing for his legacy, because if this don't work with Sean Payton, then you might as well just retire and be second fiddle to your spouse. But with Frank Wright, I actually like this hire. I understand the whole Steve Wilkes situation, and he got the short end of the stick again because he was in Arizona for 1 year. Then let's get Cliff Kingsbury because he's the quarterback whisperer, and you see how that's happened. And never seen a quarterback curse out his coach in live in the game. So he wasn't really what they thought he was. But I don't blame Frank Reich for what happened with the Colts. I actually don't blame him for what happened with Carson Wentz, because I think the ownership messed that up. we ended up with Carson Wentz. I thought that was an okay thing because Carson talent wise was better than what we had. It just didn't work out. But when he was in that 1 year in Indianapolis, he had 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Say what you want. That's 4-to-1 ratio is pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's all because Frank Wright was running the same system he had in Philly. And I think honestly they should have stayed with Carson because that could have got better just because of the system. But the ownership didn't like Carson. They traded him out to us. They got Matt Ryan. That fell on your face. And then you try to save face by firing Frank Wright. I don't think that was the issue. So I think Carolina did a good job because he's a quarterback's coach, and you need a quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league, and that's what they're probably going to get in the draft. And he knows how to coach them and develop them. So I think that's a good situation, for them. And we'll see. I would have liked, I know we were trying to see about him as coordinator. He didn't want that, but that would have been nice for us. But I think that's a pretty good hire for the Panthers.
Yeah. Speaking of coaching hires, there's still a head coach vacancy out there, the Arizona Cardinals. But who you think is going to want to put up with Kyler Murray and his antics? Because he seems to be turning into a little bit of a diva, maybe a lot of bit of a diva. So we'll see who Arizona chooses to be the next head coach for them. But I want to get into free agency, roster moves, potential coaching hires, not just head coach, OC, DC, any other things like that. Washington Commanders, my team. What do you guys think they'll do this offseason? Who will be the next offensive coordinator? Who should they resign? Who should they release? Anybody they should go after? Jason, what are your thoughts?
First, about that Kyler Murray situation, I was thinking when you said who would be the next coach, I'm like, maybe he'll Kyle Reed the situation. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
we can.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, because it said my connection was unstable. I was like, maybe it'd be like Kyle Reed, like we don't need a coach, but all joke aside, the Commanders, man, I throw my hands. I'm like, I just don't know. I really don't know. It's like I can see. I think what they should do is get somebody that's done it before, because I listen to stuff and they say, look, being a position coach, being a coordinator, is 2 totally different animals. And so,
yeah,
somebody that's done it before for sure. If I just don't know. If my opinion is, if you're sticking with Sam Howell, which I don't mind him doing at all, is 1 or 2 people. It's either Kim's MP, the quarterbacks coach there, because he did it before with the Bengals, and you can keep that continuity there, having coached Sam Howell, and knowing the offense, you know what works for him, and I would do it simply for that. I wouldn't mind that. If it's not him, I'm going all out for Eric Bieniemy. I mean, look, I'm like, look, I pay you more than a head coach. What you need, a private jet. I mean, what? Because why not? He's been there. He's done it at the highest level, and I'm hearing a lot of people, who've been under him, speak highly of him, and they say he doesn't care. They say the way he coaches, he don't care who you are. He gets your respect. He's like, I don't care if you're first rounder or undrafted or whatever. I coach you this way, and this is how you're gonna do things. And I think that's what's needed. And if I don't go in house, I'm swinging for the fences. I'm going for the best. That's how I would approach that.
They have requested an interview with him. Just checking up NFL.com. We have requested Washington has requested an interview with him as OC. But what about players you think we should resign? We were talking yesterday, Daron Payne, I think that's a guy we definitely should resign. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. number one, get that done. You know, no, I know, of course you don't want to, go sit in the house to him. Like if he's asking for like 25, 30, you're like, nah, but I mean, do what you gotta do, franchise tag him. People say, yeah, people play their best on a contract year, and that's true. But the boy's 25 years old. So it's not like it was like he was 30 on a contract year and now he's gonna be washed up afterwards, Russell Wilson. But I'm like, yeah, do get that done. And whatever chips fall. Like you cannot replace his production and John Allen in the middle like that.
Yeah,
Nah, gotta put it, gotta get him.
I got you. Brandon, you've been saying, I don't know if you've been joking, but Derek Carr is a name you mentioned and try to link to Washington.
I'm serious.
How do you feel about that? You think Washington should go after Derek Carr?
I think at the end of the day, y'all should keep Sam Howell. And I think I said that before he played in that final game. I've been eyeing him since, y'all drafted him, Sam Howell. But, unfortunately, y'all went after Carson Wentz last summer, which was a waste of money and a waste of time and a waste of draft picks or whatever. Y'all compensated the Colts for that. Heineke wasn't bad, in my opinion. I mean, y'all saw him a lot more than I did. But like Ed been saying, it's time to move on past him. They gave him a chance. I wouldn't, out of all the quarterbacks that I know of off the top of my head that's probably going to hit free agency, I think Derek Carr is probably the best option for y'all. He's still, even though he's over 30 years old or right around that point, he hasn't had the best career there, but I think he's efficient enough to give y'all a couple years, a year to, 1 year to 3 years worth of play before y'all finally develop or finalize somebody, y'all draft somebody and develop them. Obviously in that first, second round, when you bring when you draft somebody nowadays, the expectations are let's get them on the field, this and that. But I think Derek Carr can be a short-term fix to a talented roster. Those wide receivers y'all have out there, the run game and the defense, especially that defensive line that's been talked about for the last couple of years, as y'all been talking about Deron Payne and those guys, Jonathan Allen, if Chase Young comes back 100%. It's a talented enough roster to definitely make some noise in the NFC East, a division that I think, honestly, I feel like New York's going to take a step back. I do believe Dallas is going to take a step back unless they get another wide receiver. They have a couple of things they need to address. And Philly, who's to say they're going to be even as good as they are this year, no matter what happens in the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think y'all are pretty much the most glaring need is the quarterback, and I wouldn't be surprised if y'all do try to go. I mean, it's in y'all's MO to go after these veteran quarterbacks. Y'all pretty much have done that quite often, besides the Jason Campbells of the world and the rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins and Patrick Ramsey's of the world. The guys y'all did draft in the first round, but y'all have gone after veteran quarterbacks just as much. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. What are your thoughts on? I know you like Sam Howell.
Yeah, I think we should give the keys to Sam Howell, let him do his thing. Taylor Heineke, we can keep his back up. But the first thing we got to do, of course, is release Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Can't have that cap hit. We use that money to sign guys like Deron Payne, whoever else. Offensive line, I don't know, man. It's like we gave away two guys, Brandon Scherf and Trent Williams, both were really good players. Trent Williams, a Hall of Famer. I don't know about Brandon Scherf. He might be on that trajectory, but if we get another guy like that, I don't think Sam Cosmi is on that same level. He might reach it, but we need to make sure if we get a offensive lineman who turns out to be a stud, we can't let him go due to injuries or, misdiagnosis like they did with Trent Williams. So Carson Wentz, you got to go. O-line, we got to improve on. Hopefully, we can do that in the draft or free agency. But back to Sam Howell, I think we should give him a shot to be the quarterback of the future. I like Taylor Heineke as a backup, and the receiver, the weapons we got, man. Me and Jason were talking yesterday. I think Scary Terry McLaurin is the best receiver in the NFC East. I think he's a top 10, top 5 top receiver in the league. You give him the right type of quarterback. Hopefully, Howell can improve enough. This dude could be like a top 3 receiver, in my opinion. Then Jahan Dotson, his rookie year was great, man. He had injuries, but I think he had like 6 or 7 touchdowns. He can catch the ball, run routes really well. Curtis Samuel, he's kind of like a little Debo Samuel, in my opinion. You can put him in the backfield. He likes running the ball, and he's fast as well. So I like what we got on offense, our weapons. I ain't even gonna mention B-Rob, Brian Robinson. I think he's a stud. I'm glad that he didn't have any significant injuries when he was shot. So I like what the Commanders are doing as far as their future moves and the players, the pieces they have. Hopefully, just solidified our O-line. We re-signed Deron Payne. So O-line and D-line, I think we got those, improved. We can really make some noise, not just the NFC East, but the NFC. And Sam Hall, I'm hoping you're the guy, man. I really am. So we'll see what happens with that, though. So Brandon, your Ravens, they have until March 7th to franchise tag Lamar Jackson. What do you think they're going to do? And who do you think is going to be our next offensive coordinator?
It's crazy. I didn't realize that deadline was as soon as it actually is.
Fast approaching.
Legit, just over 30 days. It's not looking good. But I think when it's all said and done, they'll get a long-term contract done. I know the media is saying one thing, and Ian Rappaport's coming out saying they're gonna hit the exclusive tag on him or whatever. I think whichever is the one where he can't no other team can negotiate with him or something like that. But I believe it'll get done. I think the one thing about the Ravens traditionally is that we tend to wait to the last minute to get our guys re-signed. Yes, they did extend Roquan Smith just before the end of the season or just before that playoff game. But of course he came over via trade. So, and I think he was entering the last year of his contract. Don't quote me, but he's either entering the last year or this was the last year of his contract. I believe he was drafted the same year as Lamar Jackson, but it's that Deshaun Watson contract really put a hurting on everybody because that fully guaranteed is not for, and Cleveland's not a big market either. That's why it's kind of surprising that they did that, to think that the ownership had the money. But I guess, when you have consistent losing, you don't have those big name players like most other teams do with Cleveland. They're slowly starting to develop, but he's got money in the bank to be able to do that fully guaranteed contract, as opposed to these smaller franchises like Baltimore. As far as the next offensive coordinator, I personally prefer our quarterbacks coach, James Urban. I know that they're in the second round of interviews with, I want to say 3 guys. I can't tell you right off the bat who they are. I know we did interview Eric Bieniemy. I like Eric Bieniemy, but I'm like, and I see why y'all want to get him in Washington as well, but I just don't see why he would leave Kansas City to go to a, no offense, a Baltimore and a Washington type organizations to where, the offenses are kind of mediocre. Yes, I think y'all are a quarterback away on offense, but us, we need a lot more than, we need about 2 or 3 good receivers out there to go along with DeMarcus Robinson and Rashad Bateman. So I just don't see where he would leave one or offensive coordinator position with the great Patrick Mahomes to go somewhere else besides a head coaching position, which I think that if Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, I think Andy Reid is done for sure, and he'll retire. And I believe that team will go to Eric Bieniemy up next. I mean, he's just been there long enough. He's pretty much Andy's right-hand man. So, yeah, I, at the end of the day, I would, if I was doing the hiring, I would go with James Urban. He has the most one-on-one interaction with Lamar Jackson besides Greg Roman, of course, who's gone now. But we'll see which direction they go. Just get us somebody that can elevate this passing game, please. Because I think the run game has been something that's been natural with us for most of the time we've been, a team or whatever. So we've been around. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I saw something like Lamar's projected contract was like 5 years, over 200 million, and there was like 208 million guaranteed. That's something I saw on Twitter. I don't know if that's official or not, but I think that's what he wanted. He wanted like at least 200 mil guaranteed. So that's true. Maybe y'all are close to getting a contract done. But if y'all not, this is a long shot. You know, Lamar, just come down the Beltway a little bit. Come to Washington. No, you not happening. You don't
No.
want to see that.
Please don't. No.
He said, please no.
Not in the same market. That's almost as worse than him going to Kansas City, Indianapolis, somewhere. The teams that I absolutely hate. Not that he would go to Kansas City because you got what's the name out there, but still.
Nah, I hear you. But back to Bieniemy a bit. I think the main reason he might go somewhere else as an offensive coordinator is just so he can like prove to people like it's not just Patrick Mahomes and the guys, Andy Reeves. I think they say, oh well, Bieniemy doesn't call plays, and well, he's got Patrick Mahomes as quarterback, so he might go somewhere else just to prove like, you know, hey, I know what I'm doing out here, so this is another chance to prove to all the doubters and naysayers and people who can hire me that I can actually know what I'm doing and I can lead an offense and a team. So we'll see if he stays in Kansas City or if he goes somewhere else. But are there any other teams you guys think should make moves? Like Jimmy G, he's probably not going to be with the Niners next year. You know, the Jets, they need a quarterback. Tampa Bay needs a quarterback. Raiders, they need a quarterback. Are there any other teams or players you got on your minds right now, guys, that you think? Jason, I want to start with you first.
Y'all talk about that Ravens situation real quick.
Yeah.
So, Brad, you said something interesting about Bieniemy. If Andy Reid, wins, he retire and Bieniemy step in. I think there's some traction to that because we know his contract. He doesn't have a contract beyond this year, and I can see that being the situation. And if Andy Reid wins, it's like what more does he need to do? Like his legacy is already cemented. So that's a good point. And then as far I think y'all going to franchise him, and I think it's the exclusive one that you're talking about where they can't talk to nobody else. But when it comes to long-term contract, Deshaun did hurt it, but watch for these dominoes to fall. Watch what Herbert gets and watch what
Burrow
gets.
Yep.
Because whatever Burrow gets, Lamar's not getting.
It's gonna keep going up though.
But Lamar's not gonna give what Burrow gets because he
I'm
has
with you.
legs on that. So let's say Burrow does not get 230 guaranteed like Deshaun did. He gets a big deal, but maybe it's like 220 guaranteed. Or like Lamar can't touch that. Yep. So I think that's the dominoes you have to watch with that. As far as anybody else, Ed, with Jimmy G, we gotta watch the draft because all those quarterback needy teams have like top 7 picks. And are they going to want to pay Jimmy G a whole lot and draft a quarterback that high and pay him a whole lot and have Jimmy G just be a mentor? Maybe, but conventional wisdom now is, it's not what it was back in the 90s and early 2000s when you draft quarterback high, you sit them.
Yep.
It's like we draft quarterback high, we playing you. So all those teams, Raiders, Colts, Texans, Panthers, that need quarterbacks, they're going to draft one. So that takes Jimmy G out of those equations. So where's he going to fall to? I don't know. That's a wild card to me. My friend is a 49ers fan. I said, y'all might want to wait out the draft to see if y'all want to take him back. He may not have a place to go for the money that he wants because of those situations. So I'm waiting to see how that ends up. As far as anybody else, nobody else really comes to mind. Out there that's a big time free agent.
What about Josh Jacobs? He's not like technically a free agent, but this is like the last year of his rookie deal. You think the Raiders should keep him, or you think they'll like give him away? Because how they do running backs, they use them up.
No, they won't keep him, but they probably going to put the franchise on him. Because of that. And regardless of how the passing game is nowadays, when you got a productive running back, makes everything in life just that much easier. So you got to keep that, especially you don't know who your quarterback's going to be. You need a running game. you
Yeah.
know, like look at Houston. Houston got Pierce, so that's going whoever the quarterback's going to be. That's going to help his life out tremendously. So Tennessee, Derrick Henry obviously the best, but that makes whoever their quarterback's going to be, easy. So I think they're going to keep him. They'd be smart too. Probably franchise him, play on that tag, and see what happens with that. Um, I think you got to wait to, and I haven't seen the free agent list. So I'm not looking at it, but I think probably have to wait till some names get cut to see, what names out there, that are available. Um, so yeah.
What about you, Jake? I mean, what about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I got a whole damn list. I'll run down it real quick though. Zach Wilson, he need to go. He ain't the answer. He gonna be somebody's backup next year if he's even playing, in my opinion. The Patriots, they need wide receiver help, as I mentioned before. The Titans, they need to move past Tannehill. Jason mentioned their quarterback situation with Derrick Henry there. So whoever comes there, that'll definitely benefit from a great running back there. Colts need to draft a quarterback. We all expect that to happen. They're even in talks to move up to number one, from what I'm understanding. Just those free agent quarterbacks with them just haven't worked out, except for Jacoby Brissett, in my opinion, past Andrew Luck over the last couple of years. Cowboys need another wide receiver. Of course, Washington, as we all know, y'all need a quarterback. Giants need one more receiver. They have some young talent there. They had was it Robinson? I think got went on IR. I think that was the kid's name. He was out there making plays. They got a Hodges, I believe. It's a couple guys out there that that make plays. And that I still not a believer in Daniel Jones. I think they'll bring him back. I think they'll sign Saquon to a long-term deal, and I think that Daniel will come back on a 1 year on the franchise or whatever, because they don't even have to worry about exclusive and non-exclusive with him. Ain't nobody gonna come after him in their right minds.
Damn.
I mean, I love my dad's team, but it is what it is. We all know that. We all know the entire NFC South needs a quarterback, and then we can just skip right over that. Chicago needs some playmakers for Justin Fields. That's one guy that Ed has had his eye on all year, watching his game play. Detroit needs some defensive help. We saw how the offense kind of exploded early on, but the defense was giving up just as many points as the offense was putting up. And to be clear, they put up like 30 points per game, like the first 5 or 6 games. So that says something. Minnesota, they have some questions at quarterback. We've been calling on Kirk Cousins' job for years now. And I'm not sure what his contract situation is like. I believe he signed a 1-year extension last year to go on top of 1 year that was left on the deal. So don't quote me. I think they have 1 more year on his contract, but they still, despite the record and how they played this year, all eyes are on him. It seems like every year. San Fran, I think that for some reason, I feel like Jimmy G will be back. I think that they will trade Trey Lance. Brock Purdy will be the starter. Of course, injuries is going to play into all these decisions there now. But
he's going to need surgery. He's going to need Tommy John surgery.
Brock Purdy.
So he'll probably be out a long time.
Yeah.
That's like a year recovery from what I'm hearing.
So I got a feeling, I mean, you have more of a sample with Brock Purdy. Of course, his injury again is going to play into it. You have more of a sample in 8 to 10 games that he played, as opposed to the 2 or 3 games, 2 games this year before he went on IR with Trey Lance, and the couple games he filled in the previous year when Jimmy G was out. Arizona, I think they need help all around. And the Rams, they need help, but they have no money, no draft picks. So it's like, what are they going to do? They're definitely in a circle there. So yeah, what are your thoughts on teams that should make moves, Ed?
I want to ask y'all a question. Y'all both brought up Tennessee, the quarterback situation there. So y'all think Malik Willis is not the future? Y'all think they should move on from him?
No,
go ahead, Jason.
I don't think they should move on from him at all. They got to figure out what they're trying to do. I think what they still feel like they're in a win now mode. So I think another year with Tannehill, I don't know what his contract situation is, but I think another year with Tannehill they're going to do. But I think they're going to do a transition, sort of like how they try to do with Lance and Jimmy G. And eventually, a year from now, Malik Willis may be the guy. But nah, you don't move on from him. I understand he dropped in the draft. A lot of quarterbacks dropped in the draft. Sam Howell, they said dropped. Like they said Washington was surprised he was still there in the fifth round. They people were like they thought he was gonna go early. So that's what happens. But you get a quarterback like that for the cheap and that's that talented, nah. You stick with him as your future. Um, that's how I see that.
I
Gotcha.
really like go ahead.
I was gonna say, I want to see what Green Bay's gonna do. That quarterback situation is kind of fluid right now. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers will be back. I don't even know if Jordan Love is the guy. From what I've seen, he's okay, but I haven't seen anything to make him that he hasn't jumped off my screen, in my opinion. So Green Bay is a situation I could see. Maybe Jimmy G goes there. I don't know how he would react to that, but maybe Jimmy G to Green Bay. We'll see. That's something I'm thinking about right now. But what are you about to say, Brandon?
With the Titans situation, I like Malik Willis. I like when he was drafted there. Obviously it was a rough start for him as a rookie, which is kind of expected as a fifth rounder. And the situation he came in, I think, a couple games he came in, they were getting blown out. And then, of course, when Tannehill went down, they had no other choice but to go with him and Dobbs at that point. Tennessee needs wide receiver help, and they need defensive backs as well. That defensive line is great. That run game, of course, is great. With Green Bay, that was a thing that just popped in my head a few minutes ago. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tries to make a move for Jordan Love and tries to trade for him. I know he doesn't have a lot on his resume. It didn't look good the couple games he played in there, but it's like you got this guy on the bench, and Green Bay might be willing to make a move too, especially if Aaron Rodgers said he's going to come back and fulfill the final 2 years of his contract, if not a year, and then they'll go from there. Because it's rare that you see, like Jason said earlier, it's rare that you see a first rounder sit for all these many years. Well, he's heading into year 4, I think, or year 5, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody makes a move for him, a team that maybe is just a quarterback away, and say, okay, well, let's try to see what what we can get out of Jordan Love. He's fresh arm. He hasn't played that much. He's been under Aaron Rodgers, so he's probably, despite what Aaron Rodgers says to the media, he's learning something from him, even if he's just watching, he's not asking questions. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Gotcha.
Let me say something about that. I think this is really ironic that we are in this situation in Green Bay again,
Yeah.
where Brett Favre says I
Yep.
don't have to train nobody. Aaron Rodgers sits for like 3 years. Brett Favre, they finally get tired of Brett Favre. And where did they trade him to first? The Jets.
Yep.
That might actually happen again.
Oh man,
Yeah.
good point.
I actually think they go. That's actually I think was really going to happen. I think they're going to trade him to the Jets, and they're going to figure out what they have in Jordan Love because trading him clears up a lot of cap space too. And I think and who knows? Maybe another 15, 16 years we in that situation again with Jordan Love. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just pretty ironic. I think one move a team should make, and I've talked to people about this. All that cap space the Bears got, they
Yep.
need to take a page out of Buffalo and Philly's book where they build around the quarterback by getting a number 1 receiver. They should entertain the idea of trading for Devontae Adams.
Yep.
Real talk.
That's a good point.
People are like, well, why would a receiver want to go there? And you see what his stats are. I'm like, that his stats are the way they are because they have them.
Yeah.
You give him a number 1, and then you got all that cap space. You can build other stuff around that offensive line because he's running for his life. Like,
Yeah.
then you got a receiver that's played in that division already. Like, real talk, that should be a conversation that they have with the Raiders, and maybe it would cost the number 1 pick. Maybe. I'm not saying you do that, but you entertain that because you cannot mess up this cap space that you have and not build around your quarterback. And what receiver out there in free agency is really a number 1 receiver? There is none.
Yep.
But Devontae should be available. I'm just saying, really look into that. That's the move I think Chicago should look into doing.
Was that
Gotcha.
D-Hop or Devontae Adams? Because I was thinking Devontae Adams, he wants out of Raiders as well.
I'm talking about Devontae Adams. D-Hop need to
Okay.
stay off the PED. So, but but yeah,
Oh,
Devontae
man.
Adams. They need to really make a look into that.
Yep.
Got you. So, Jason, give me your thoughts on the Super Bowl, man. You got any early predictions right now?
Black quarterback is going to win.
That's a guarantee.
Yes, reclaiming Pat Mahomes with us. I don't care what some people say, but
You see his dad, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that dude, he black. He black.
Man, a prediction. Well, this one is like it's hard. I actually want Philly to win.
Mm,
No, of course, hey, no, we got some Philly ties.
yeah.
So, I want them to win. It's a little personal because a couple of people, even a guy I know that's a Philly fan, I told him before the season that Jalen Hurts is going to, be this good, and he didn't believe me. So I want in that I want my thoughts, before the season to come to be, complimented by the Super Bowl, by him winning the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and but it's just too close to call because I can see either way. And people are like, well, Philly got the better weapons. But I'm like, they got Travis Kelce. Somehow this dude always finds a way at the right time, the right spot to
Seriously.
open.
Yeah.
Somehow. It's like, where they're going, and he still gets there. And I'm like, they don't have anybody to solve that problem. So this is a hard one. I really can't, predict this one. I just want Philly to win.
Got you. Well, everyone, tune in Friday to hear the rest of our predictions. Maybe Jason can be back on as well for our predictions on the Super Bowl.
Sounds good. So looking ahead to this week, NFL Honors is on Thursday night. We'll find out who won MVP, Offensive and Defensive Players of the Year, the top rookies, Comeback Player of the Year, and the best of all, the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. All this ahead of the Super Bowl, of course, next Sunday, February 12th from State Farm Stadium in Arizona. And I'm sure y'all have heard the stat on this one that there's been 3 home wins at State Farm this year. The Cardinals have won one. The Eagles have won there, and so have the Chiefs. So one of those teams will end up with more wins at State Farm this year than the home team that plays there every week. But yeah, thanks to our special guest again, Jason, for coming on the show. Really appreciate you and your knowledge of the NFL.
Appreciate it.
And of course, thanks to all of our viewers. As Ed said, we'll have a fresh episode on Friday for complete breakdown of the Super Bowl 57. Again, 2 black quarterbacks starring in that. Until next time, be easy, everyone.
Peace.
No.